some of the common elements of our food system that are causing damage that people aren't aware of. Something like glyphosate is the first one that comes to my mind, right? It's like a pesticide that's sprayed all on a lot of products. Wheat is a big one. It's pretty much in every waterway. It's in the air we breathe. It's like in everyone to a certain degree. And there are some people who say that it's perfectly fine and healthy. But I think there's a larger and growing contingent of people that are saying, well, that's actually a pretty bad thing. Like, we want to be doing our best to get away from glyphosate as much as possible. Do you agree with that? And other sort of elements of our food system that come to mind as things that people would want to avoid?
Yeah, glyphosate's a big one. Any pesticides in general, you definitely want to eat organic as much as possible, and avoid the dirty dozen. The Environmental Working Group, I believe, releases that every year, where they say, these are the 12 foods that are most contaminated by pesticides. So those are the ones that you definitely want to eat organic. The scary thing about some of these things is you can even use like BPA as an example, which BPA you definitely don't want to use. Endocrine disrupting chemical is classified under. So it's a plastic that probably mimics other hormones in your body like estrogen, and then obviously that's throwing off the balance of not only estrogen but testosterone and downstream, who knows what that's doing and how long it's staying inside of you. And the scary part about it is BPA. Now you can go out and buy water bottles and it'll say BPA free. It's like, oh, that's great, it's BPA free. But you look at what it's made of and it's like BPB or BPD, and it's like, okay, so they just replaced it with another chemical that in 5 years we're going to know has the exact same effect. And, they're going to constantly move the goalposts, I guess you could say. But yeah, you want to avoid the plastics as much as possible. Nonstick cookware is another big one, which contains polyfluorinated PFOAs, which is forever chemicals. So they say that those never decompose. So what happens when you ingest those? Things like inflammatory seed oils, which are kind of pervasive and in everything. And I think in general, you want to avoid eating anything fried because, especially if you're going out to eat, a lot of these fryers they're cooking your food in, they're not changing the oil. They're just sitting there for months sometimes. It might be a couple weeks, couple days. Sometimes it's up to months where the same oil is just sitting and oxidizing and going rancid. And that's what they're cooking your food in. So you want to avoid that as much as possible and try to eat at home as much as possible and know exactly where your food is coming from, know where your water is coming from. So filtering your water is another big piece. Probably want to minimize EMF. I think the jury is still kind of out on that. Nothing definitive, but in general, the whole EMF thing just rubs me the wrong way. I don't think we need to be bombarded by 5G cell towers everywhere and Wi-Fi and radio signals and all of these different things that were never a part. They're non-native EMFs, right? And so trying to live as naturally and ancestrally as possible. So instead of the plastic water bottle, maybe using glass is a good switch. So those are a couple of the things. There's so many that we can talk about.
Those are three great ones we've got. So just to recap, BPA, or essentially all plastic coming in contact with your food as much as possible, try and avoid that. Industrial inflammatory seed oils, especially the kind that you'd find from fried food in a restaurant, remove all that from your life. And then lastly, EMF, which is still a bit up in the air, but best to be wise, intelligent about it. Like, let's not keep our phone in our pocket by our sensitive testicles, especially if you have to, like put it in the airplane mode. So you're not down regulate that EMF a little bit and kind of stay away from the Wi-Fi router at your house. Don't, keep that next to your head while you're sleeping or anything like that. And the phone outside the bedroom. So yeah, those are three great ones.